Hello, everyone, and welcome to Women of Grace. I'm Johnette Williams. It's an up close and personal with guest Thomas K. Sullivan. He'll tell us about his reversion to the faith, his call to apostolic work, and how he experienced the abiding love of God in the midst of excruciating trials and circumstances. His story is one that will boost your confidence, trust, and hope in God.
We are women of grace round the throne of the Lord Most High. And we lift up our praise from the depths of our souls. Hear our cry. Oh, Lamb of God, it is our one desire to see your holy face, women of grace.
Jesus tells us in John 16:33, "In the world you have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." With this statement, Jesus offers us hope and an anchor. Hope in God through the anchor who is himself. Our guest knows this to be true, and he'll give testimony to it. Let's welcome Thomas K. Sullivan, creator of the Warrior's Rosary and co-author of the book, The Rosary, Your Weapon for Spiritual Warfare. The EWTN Warrior's Rosary and The Rosary, Your Weapon for Spiritual Warfare are both available for you at EWTN's Religious Catalog. Just go to EWTNRC.com to order. Now, here's Tom.
Hello,
Welcome
Janet.
back, Tom. It's so good to have you here again.
It's good to be here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, we've known each other for a really long time. You are also the Vice President and Director of Operations for Women of Grace, our apostolate to women. And we have a long history together because we met, I don't know how many years ago. It's been
mid-90s.
Somewhere in the 90s. So it's been a very, very long time. And we've both experienced a lot in our lives since then. And in many cases, you know, we were, I think, a right arm to each other in the midst of those trials and circumstances. But we also share something else in common. We're both reverts to the faith. And you had a mama who was very helpful
Yes.
in encouraging you to come back to the faith, but it had to happen in God's time for you and your time for God.
Yeah, my mom, she knew me very well, and she knew she couldn't push me because I would push back. And a lot of times I give advice to women: don't push your husbands. He'll come around. Just be an example to him. And so from the time I was a kid, my mom would drag the three of us, my brother and my sister, to church. My dad, he worked nights, so he stayed home. And that was my life growing up until the time I was a teenager. And then once I turned 17, I decided it was time for me to leave the nest, and I was going to go into the military. So I turned 17 in July, and by December I was enlisted. So I was barely 17 years old. But all of my life, my mom used to say to me, "Tommy, are you ever going to let me get up off my knees?" You know, because she nicknamed me Tommy Trouble. It seemed like trouble followed me wherever I went. If there was a black sheep in the family, it would have been me. But trouble always found me, and I was always the risk taker. You know, so at 17, I joined the military. I went to the Navy first, and after, I guess it was 9 years. After 9 years of serving in the military. Let me clarify this. I never really left the faith. I just didn't have any use for it. I was just a guy that I wasn't anti-Catholic. I wasn't anti-anything. I wasn't even pro-Christian. I was nothing. I was raised Catholic, but I had no leanings one way or the other. I was successful in the military. I was one of the youngest company commanders assigned to train recruits at the ripe old age of 21. I had lots of decorations, awards directly from the Secretary of the Navy, who flew down to pin them on me. So I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't looking for God. I wasn't at that time, oh, woe is me. I need to turn to a higher power to find something. I was very successful, And then, you know, things changed. I got out of the service because my kids, I had 3 new children, my wife came from another country, and it was time for me to either re-enlist or get out. And the only thing they were offering me was fleet training group inspector out of Guantanamo Bay for 2 years, or the destroyer out of Sigonella, Sicily, which means my wife would be alone 9 months out of the year with my young children in another foreign country. So I said no to that, and I had gotten out of the military. But during this time was an interesting time. Lots was going on. I missed the service something awful. I wanted to go back, but I didn't want to sacrifice my family. When my mom had a friend who she taught with, her son went from the Navy to the Coast Guard, and he loved it. He said, it's very family friendly. You don't really go far for very long. Local patrols, things like that. And I said, well, let me check it out. And so I checked it out, and it seemed to suit me. So I, applied there, and after a series of hurdles, they said, yeah, we need you, and we need your rank, and we need your rate. And so if there's any problem, we're waiving it all. We're going to mail you your uniform, and you can just show up.
Oh, my goodness.
I was like, okay, you got it. Well, during this time, I was preparing to leave. My mom and mothers have a way of, knowing exactly how to do something. I'm very technical. I'm very technical with electronics and things. And in the Navy, I did a lot of electronic work and radar repeater work and a lot of interior communication work and things. And my mom knew all that. And one day she was telling me about these apparitions, that were taking place. And she gave me a book to read. And then she said to me one day, but I didn't read the book, I just put the book away. And then she said to me one day, she says, Tom, I have this video. And back in the day, duplicating video, VHS tapes from one to another, you had to hook up the RCA cables and stuff, and then the TV so you can see what you're doing. She says to me, Tom, I'd like to make a backup copy of this VHS tape. You think you could do it for me? And I'm like, yeah, what is it? So she told me what it was about these apparitions and going on. And I said, yeah, sure, just leave it on the table. I'll take care of it, later. Well, it was a Saturday morning, and everybody left the house. So I thought, okay, well, let me go ahead and do this so, take care of this for Mom. And I hooked it up, set it all up, and plugged in, hit play, record, and I had nothing to do, and there was nobody there to distract me, so I thought, let me just see what this is all about, and I just watched it. And I think logically, I have a logical brain, and I think from point A to B to C, C to D. And as I watched this video unfold, there was a priest in there talking about, the events. I was looking at some of the visionaries, watching them, and I'm being very critical, thinking, yeah, this is just a hoax, But then the priest in the video said, he looked at the camera and he said, if it's all a hoax, like he was reading my mind, if it's all a hoax and you believe in it, you've got nothing to lose. But if it's real and you turn your back on it, you could lose your soul. And that's like, later I discovered that was called Pascal's wager. But at the time I didn't know anything. I'm like, whoa, that just makes too much sense. That's just logic. So anyway, that sent me on a journey of, and it was with the Rosary. And so that sent me on a journey, and I'm thinking, okay, where do I start? And I don't want to say anything, because I'm Tommy Trouble. I mean, I'm a successful military guy, and that's the last thing I was going to do. So anyway, I said to my mom one day, there was nobody around. She was cooking in the kitchen, and I said, hey, Mom, where do you get your religious stuff at? And she says, oh, our Father's business down on 54. Why? I said, I don't know. I was thinking maybe I'd look for a rosary. She didn't say nothing. I was waiting for her to freak out. Oh, I'll take you tomorrow. No, I know she was exploding. I knew she was interiorly, she wanted to explode, and I knew that, you know. But she wasn't making me feel uncomfortable either.
Yeah.
You see, mothers know these things, and they know their kids, they know their sons. So she wasn't going to push any buttons that were going to set me off. She was just, I'll take you tomorrow, like it was no big deal.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my first rosary, and you know, there's a lot more to that, but I didn't know how to pray it. I didn't know. I didn't know a creed. I didn't know the Hail Marys. I knew a little bit about the Our Father. I didn't know the sequences. I didn't know the mysteries. I didn't know anything. But I figured this was simple enough. You know, I can start. You know. But when that happened, something changed in me. You know. There was a when I decided to get that rosary, and then a few days later, the events that took place in my life out on the back porch, I went from this hard drill instructor who had many choice words at every other word, to an interior change happened to me. There was this, I don't know, warmth went through my head and my legs, and I got all like jelly-like, you know. But I had this interior feeling of love that this was foreign to me, you know. Matter of fact, that afternoon I even went with my mom to see my grandmother. I kissed her on the head and I made a sign of a cross on her head and everything. I was feeling all good, but it was a distinct change in me. That happened, and shortly after me, my dad followed, my sister followed, my brother. He was already, if I remember, still going to church and stuff, but my sister wasn't. My dad never did. But once I changed, once I converted, basically, and I got really on fire. I was like, I got to learn everything I can, you know. However, I was only at my parents' house because I was, as I told you, I was going into the Coast Guard now. I was on my way out to, I thought, Guam. But got caught in a catch-21 situation. I ended up in California. And that's where things really, you know, heated up for me in faith. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's an amazing thing, and you know, I think that God smiles at us because He knows the plans He has in mind for us, plans for our welfare, not our woe, plans for a future full of hope. And little did you know that introduction to the Rosary was going to be something that was going to take shape and form in your life in a remarkable way. And I do want to tell you, friends, that Tom is the creator of the Warrior's Rosary. And I've got this one in my hand right here. And this one is this opportunity that can be yours at EWTN's religious catalog. It is the EWTN edition of the Warrior's Rosary. It's beautiful. I just want you to get a good look at this. I'm going to hold this quite still for you. It is comprised of solemite, which is a stone. It looks like the globe. It is a marbleized type of stone, and it is there for you at EWTN's religious catalog. It's sodalite. I think I mispronounced that. Sodalite. So I invite you to go on to EWTNRC.com, order your own Warrior's Rosary, find out how important the Rosary is in your life by praying it, and you will see. In addition to that, I want to offer you, as we go to our break, a copy of our book, The Rosary, Your Weapon for Spiritual Warfare, that's also available for you at EWTNRC.com. More to come on the other side of the break. Stay with us. Welcome back, friends. We're visiting with our guest today, Thomas K. Sullivan. He is the co-author of this book, The Rosary, Your Weapon for Spiritual Warfare, and the creator of the Warrior's Rosary, which I have in my hand here. Both of them are available for you at EWTN's religious catalog. That's EWTNRC.com, the home of holy reminders. Really encouraging you to get a copy of our book on the Rosary. It is a remarkable book. It is singular in the way in which it approaches the topic, and I can honestly tell you that it is going to move you to a deeper love of, appreciation for, and praying of the Rosary. So get on out there to EWTNRC.com. I do want to mention that in addition to the EWTN edition, there's all kinds of other editions of the Warrior Rosary. We at Women of Grace have one. It's the Women of Grace Warriors Rosary, available for you at our website, womenofgrace.com. And there's a variety of other means by which people can get them. But Tom was telling us about his story, and you got us to California. And I know that California was outrageously important in your movement forward into apostolic life. You hooked up with St. Joseph Communications out there. You were duplicating tapes. As a matter of fact, many of you have tapes, back in that day, they were audio cassettes, of Scott Hahn's famous conversion story, and also I think Janet Smith's on contraception, why not? Tom was the guy that was making those tapes, right?
Yes.
And so they have been distributed, millions of them, throughout the world. And this really propelled you into this deeper life of faith there in California. But you ultimately came back to Florida, and that's where I met you. Right, and through that time, you would work and help me out at the ministry, and then eventually you came on board with us. But you know, it's interesting how God works, Tom, because God, you know, He knows all things. He knows all things about our lives. He's in the present moment. He knows everything about what's going to happen, etc. And He brought you back to the faith, got you involved in ministry, lit you on fire with the Holy Spirit, and in a certain sense was preparatory for what He would entrust to you. And what He was going to entrust to you were a couple of excruciating trials. Tell us a little bit about Gabriel.
Gabriel's my youngest son. I have 6 children. Gabriel was the youngest. Carol was 42, I think, when she had Gabriel. And so he was our youngest. And when he was first born, the doctor came in and asked us a few questions and kept us an extra day because there was something in his blood. But then he said, it'll be okay. And they released us. And I was like, well, what's going on? Well, we didn't know. Well, about when he turned 4, we noticed his belly was sticking out. He had an extended stomach. And we took him to a couple of different doctors, and they didn't really, oh, it's megacolon, you know, boys don't go to the bathroom. And I'm like, no, there's something else wrong. So my wife, being Filipino, took him to a Filipino doctor, and as soon as she walked in, the doctor looked at him and said, kid, you're sick. You either have leukemia or anemia. So he ran a test on him, and about 2 hours later, it was already after 5 in the evening, I got a phone call from him and he said, take Gabriel to All Children's Hospital right now. You know.
I know, it's so hard, Tom.
So we did, you know. So we took him down to All Children's Hospital, and a team of doctors got together. They started checking him out, and they were saying how, you know, how serious it was. You know, it was that his liver had swollen, you know, and trying to filter out the leukemia, basically, you know. And one of the doctors took us in a side room to. It was like he was preparing us, you know. But you know, it began a time of 5 years of in and out of the hospitals with Gabriel, not knowing what's coming next. And he was diagnosed with leukemia. And so I got to a point where I said to one of the doctors, I said, you know, just be straight up with me. What am I looking at? You know? And they said, well, we don't really know. And they said, because we have so many different protocols that we don't have longevity to tell you, so we don't know, you know. So that began a series of, you know, trials. You remember I was working from the hospital.
I remember.
And keeping the staff updated on how things, you know, were unfolding. They'd hand me this big old notebook full of information about drugs, and they would, I'd have to go through them at night because I have to sign permission in the morning. And I would be the one who would have to carry him places, you know, take him to this shot or the other shot or this MRI, and I'd have to show him. We'd get to the MRI, and he's only 4, you know.
Just a little guy. We're seeing him as you're talking.
Yeah, I can't.
You don't have to look. It was a very difficult time, and we remember it well, and we journeyed with you. Through the grace of God, you know, Gabriel is well.
Yes.
He is in his 20s. He's doing quite
22.
well.
Yes.
There's been no recurrence.
Right.
And a fine young man.
Yes, he is.
But that wasn't the only trial. You get through that trial, and then there's Tommy. We have 6 minutes. I'm just giving you a little
sure.
warning there.
You know, we came out of that, and we figured, okay, you know, Gabriel's good. Kids are all grown. Everything is we're moving along. My wife and I are growing spiritually, you know, and Gabriel, with Gabriel, just to sum that up, if it wasn't for the Rosary in our prayer life, I don't know how we would have made it, really. But then, you know, later on, my son Tommy had suffered an injury at work, practically severed his right arm, and they had to do a 5-hour surgery into the night. And, you know, they warned him. They said, listen, we're going to be giving you medications for pain, but, you know, you got to be careful. And sure enough, they started pumping him full of Oxycontin and oxycodones and the whole opioid thing at that time, you know. And he got hooked. And he you know, was on these pain meds for about 3 years. Finally, he was, you know, he was married, had kids, had his own house. He had the world by the tail. But this was a really bad thing, and so, you know, 14 years of it, and it got worse and worse. And he ended up on the street, and it got to the point to where Carol and I, you know, my wife, we just didn't know what else to do. We constantly prayed. Our go-to prayer was Our Lady Undoer of Knots. We'd give Tommy over to Our Lady, and we'd do the novena to Our Lady Undoer of Knots, and then I'd find myself telling my wife, you know, honey, stop taking them back. Let Our Lady deal with it. Let Our Lady deal with it. And we'd pray our Rosary together and stuff. And one night, I said to my wife, I said, you know, we need to come to the realization that he is either going to die or he's going to go to jail. I hope he goes to jail. But we have to prepare ourselves for one or the other. And one night, Gabriel came running in the house at 2 in the morning, or came running in down the hallway at 2 in the morning. He's like, Dad, there's cops at the door. And I'm thinking, oh boy, here we go, you know. And so we talked to the sheriff. He said, you know, just want you to know we've arrested your son, and, you know. So he went away to 29 months of prison. And when he got out, it's what he needed. He needed that time to, and we tried other things in different rehabs and stuff, you know.
Yes, you did.
But all through it, you know, if it wasn't for the Rosary and if it wasn't for the you know, having our faith there and Our Lady there in the novenas, and it could have been a very different story. So Tommy got out, he got clean, got his life back together, and now he's my lead Rosary maker.
Yes, he is. You know, you know, this God of ours is so amazing. Yeah. And so the very thing that the instrument that he used to bring you back to the faith becomes the instrument that he used to hold you and Carol steady during Gabriel's illness, to bring Gabriel through that illness to health. Right. And that Rosary held you and Carol through that journey, that long, arduous journey of 14 years with Tommy. Yeah. And now Tommy makes rosaries. Yep. And
a
I'm
big
telling you,
loss.
friends, you know, there is no making these stories up. If this was in a fiction tale, we wouldn't believe it.
Right.
But it's true life, and it's been Tom's life, and it's been a wonderful journey in the beautiful circumference held in the middle of this rosary wrapped around you and your children and Carol and holding you firm.
Yeah.
And God wants you to know that he is there for you, with you, by way of the rosary too. So I do want to encourage you, pray the rosary, pray the rosary, pray the rosary. Get out to EWTN Religious Catalog, EWTNRC.com. Order a copy of our book, The Rosary, Your Weapon for Spiritual Warfare. It is going to help you so much. What will help you even more is praying the rosary. So I want to encourage you to get a Warrior's Rosary out there at EWTNRC.com. And you know, if you like, if you like this one, go to our website because it's available for you there too, womenofgrace.com. It's been wonderful being with you today, Tom. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you,
Thank you,
Janet.
brother.
Yes.
God bless all of you. Bye bye now.